It's going to be a rager tonight on this warm as anything Wednesday evening. Hello everyone and welcome to BunkaMania, Bunkazilla UK's official pro wrestling podcast. I am Jeremy Graves and joining me on this Wednesday, the 15th of June 2022, my tag team partner. I wouldn't go anywhere without him when it comes to talking about wrestling, my good friend the Dekker Dane, Mr. Iain Boulton. Good sir, how the devil are you doing tonight?
I am doing delightful. It's also very warm. So I have adopted for the shorts technique. I came from work. We had the quick pre-show brief or chat. And it's like, no, must go and make myself more casual, and I have fans going on around me at the bottom floor. So if you hear a light hum in the background, it's totally fine. It's just me trying to keep cool in this ungodly heat. But I'm doing well. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Not too bad, not too bad. But when it comes to changing shirts, for those of you watching live on YouTube now, you can see I'm in my usual sort of button-up shirt. Do I regret this decision? Perhaps. But I did not have enough time to do what I phrase, Ian, as a tactical wardrobe change.
The tactical wardrobe change. It always is handy. As for myself, for the benefit of the audio listeners, I am wearing a very custom t-shirt of RoboCop carrying a fridge. And if the sound seemed a bit far away, it's because I moved slightly away so people can see the t-shirt.
It's the spin-off comic we all dreamed of, but we never got. And we've mentioned it already in passing, talking about the video. If you're joining us live tonight on YouTube, thank you very much for tuning in. Hello to you. Hope you're doing okay today. If you want to let us know your thoughts in the chat as we progress tonight, you can do so. And you never know, we may also talk about your said comments and or read them out on the show. If you're enjoying the stream tonight, please do give the video a thumbs up. And if you would like to subscribe to the Bunkazilla UK channel where we broadcast every other Wednesday, it would be very much appreciated. Of course, if you are an audio listener, big shout out to you guys. You can find us on the likes of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Google Podcasts, you name it. Dekker Dane San has likely made us available there. And thank you very much for checking us out there. Make sure you tell a friend where you found us as well. Also, quick note as well, perhaps audio listeners as well, you already know this because you're very likely subscribed on your audio platform of choice. But last week, Mr. Dekker Dane San and we did a bonus episode because there was a lot of news last week, Ian, and we basically decided we can't wait for this for like another week because knowing our luck, something else big is going to happen. And you could argue some big things have happened. So it's probably a good job we did that, where we talked a little bit about Hell in a Cell, talked a bit about the Cody situation, we touched in passing on MJF, very, very briefly, I think, and then also CM Punk as well. So yeah, a heck of a lot has happened. So do go and check out that bonus edition of the podcast if you haven't already.
Indeed you do. So I think this episode, it's kind of a mixture of all the things that are going on, because over the last couple of days, lots of big news have happened. Some exciting, some very disappointing, and others kind of somewhere in between. And we will go on this adventure together. It'll be fun. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Indeed. So, you know what? Folks, we're just going to put it out there now. Also, for the benefit of anyone watching the archive of this on YouTube later, there will be chapter points added to the video. So if you want to skip things we're talking about or jump forward to certain topics we are going to talk about, you will be able to do just that. But for the benefit of you watching live, I think, Ian, it is time we focus on our first topic for tonight, which, to be quite frank, isn't a fun one.
No, it sadly is not.
No, chances are, if you are listening to this, you have likely heard numerous other places or seen numerous reports about it. So we're not going to touch on it too much, but we want to at least acknowledge it. This being Jeff Hardy. The news broke earlier this week that he was arrested for a DUI offense, I believe it is, which I think, if I remember the reports correctly, it's his third within 10 years now, which in America is not a good thing, considering there are maybe stipulations relating to previous arrests and such.
Yeah, the basics of the arrest were as follows. So obviously he was arrested on June 13th. He's arrested on 3 charges. He was arrested on violating restrictions placed on his driving license. So he has, I think he has a suspended or I think it's like, I can't remember, it's like disavowed or kind of. It's kind of he does not have he should not have a license. And
I think it's from what I've heard, it's a combination. It's something like it's a partially suspended license, but it might be a case where there's effectively the equivalent of a breathalyzer test that will enable you to be allowed to drive or something of that ilk.
Yes, that.
Which in and of itself is fantastic technology. I didn't even know that existed before.
Yeah, nor did I until sadly the news came out on this one. But yeah, so the 3 charges: violating restrictions placed on driving license, driving while license is cancelled, suspend, or revoke. Those are the words I was looking for a bit earlier. And third, and probably the big one, is DUI, alcohol, drugs, a third offence within 10 years. In terms of the reports, he was 3.7 times over the legal limit.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not. And I think the last time the discussions of Jeff Hardy's sort of well-being and stability and capability sort of came out towards the end of last year, when there was the weird moment at a house show where he kind of just tagged out and just kind of went out, hanged out with the crowd, and just seemed very, very odd. And unfortunately, those events led to Hardy being released by WWE because WWE said, we think there may be something to be concerned about. We would like to rewrite. That is something that is being reported. It's not necessarily confirmed if true or false, or whatever. So there was the report of rehab being offered. Hardy said no. Hardy unfortunately released, and then straight after the 90 days, he appears very quickly in AEW. Yeah. I mean, I think there's also the latest alerts there on TMZ. TMZ actually had the arrest footage. So
I've not watched it, admittedly, partially because I don't want to, honestly.
Nor do I. But some of the basics was being unable to complete basic sort of driver awareness tests. So kind of like keeping an eye on a finger, or sort of reciting things. But one of the key things that kind of came out in the discussion, or what Jeff Hardy was talking, was he was also due to have possibly a brain scan within the next day or two, which, considering he was potentially booked into a ladder match for tonight, which is now not happening.
And given that he was seemingly knocked out for a little bit at the recent pay-per-view,
it's not good.
I don't mean to make light of this in any way, but it's certainly a mixed bag of news.
Yeah. I think the first thing is obviously, hopefully, Jeff is getting the help that he needs, and hopefully Jeff will be able to combat these sort of the struggles in that. I mean, I can't even imagine, to be perfectly honest, but it's just I think what a lot of wrestling fans are home for is Jeff is well, and Jeff is safe, and Jeff is looking Jeff's well-being comes first. That's the bottom line.
True. And I will add to that as well, that more than anything, because there are lots of words that have been thrown around, like just really disappointed, for example, that this has happened. But I actually think Lance Storm summed it up best in saying this is actually just infuriating. Because there's an element of don't fricking drink then drive. What the hell are you doing? There's also the element where, I mean, we've not talked about it on here, but recently Tammy Sitch, the former Sunny in WWE, is going through a lot of legal proceedings at the moment, partially because I think it was of a drink driving offense that involved someone actually dying because of it.
Yes, I'm aware of that as well.
Yeah, so there is also an element of just like, not to say even with that in mind, just literally at all, just don't do it. He could have ordered a taxi or an Uber or whatever, Lyft, whatever services there are in America. But, clearly something is not right here. That's that's the line I will draw that under. But then there was nothing said immediately from AEW, potentially for obvious reasons, because he was probably in jail. Then I believe it was roughly 24 hours later, it was about 7 p.m. UK time, Tony Khan posted the following statement on his Twitter. Quote, "We were able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy this afternoon. AEW does not condone Jeff's alleged behavior. We've made it clear to Jeff that we will assist him in getting treatment for substance abuse issues, which he has indicated that he is open to receiving. In the interim, he is suspended without pay, and he can only return to AEW upon successfully completing treatment and maintaining his sobriety. If you have a loved one that needs help, please reach out to SAMHSA's National Helpline, phone number included on there. Tony Khan, President, CEO of All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
When it comes to this statement, I saw various reactions to this. And again, we're not going to, for want of a better word, dwell on this too much. But I think the one thing that this has done, and I'm thinking long term here, is this has actually been a statement and a very definitive stamp of if something like this happens with an AEW talent, this is the action that will be taken. I did see a few people initially commenting of, oh, well, what the heck? You didn't do this with Moxley. And obviously the difference with Moxley was he checked himself in.
Yeah.
That was a very different situation to this. Also, whereas, go on.
Also with Moxley, Moxley had not been involved in a legal situation like Jeff Hardy.
Literally what I was going to say, yeah.
He wasn't involved in an arrest. He wasn't involved in a personal situation between other colleagues and stuff like that. It was basically Moxley came to terms he had a problem with alcohol and stuff like that and went to rehab. We shouldn't be comparing this. We really shouldn't, because
I know that's why it was such a ludicrous thing when I saw it.
Yeah, it generally is. And again, also some of the other things that were coming out on Twitter saying, "Oh, why didn't they do a statement and suspend immediately?" So, well, first and foremost, I think AEW are trying to kind of do due diligence and just make sure the talent is okay, and be able to kind of reach a sort of mutual understanding of what you're doing, of what's going on, and what the next steps are going to be. I think it is again comparisons to the WWE situation with Jeff Hardy when they said, "Jeff, we think you may need to go to rehab," and Jeff said no, and then WWE did the knee-jerk reaction of, "All right, released." In that sort of sense, and then kind of going, oh, maybe we've made a mistake. And I think it was reported during the whole sort of run up to WrestleMania that they were trying to get Jeff back to kind of do Hall of Fame or something like that, and it just didn't work. So I think it's trying to avoid that knee-jerk reaction of doing something without really kind of taking a breath, thinking through, kind of, and in terms of high profile situations like this, it can be very easy to do something rash without thinking, and then it comes back and bites you on the backside very quickly. So I think AEW did the right thing here of, let's talk to Jeff, let's get an idea of what's going on, and let's get an idea of what the next steps are, and then we'll communicate. Because it's like, it's not pretty, but again, it's like, it's some of those like conversations online just seems to make it like another weapon in a battle between brands, which, to be honest, is bullshit. To be honest,
it is. And one of the key words that you've just said then is the word brand. And the key thing to remember, like, I can speak having been like a public figure for various companies before, everything you do, whether it's a personal thing or a professional thing, in some way, shape, or form, ultimately is going to represent the company you are working for. Yeah, it's just the way it is. That's why I've always been cognizant. And, we all have our little moments of slip-ups, as it were. We've all done it randomly.
Yeah.
But in general, I'm just always on. It's like, you never know who's going to be nearby. Always want to make sure things are safe, be it like I've done panels at conventions and such. You want to just make sure you know everything. And if something random happens, how are you going to handle it, for example? Random example, but for the sake of argument. So there is also the element where this is a big name AEW talent as well. Like, Jeff Hardy is a draw. No matter what anyone thinks of him, ultimately, he is a big name. And that's why this is a big story, ultimately. But most importantly, to draw the line firmly under this conversation, hopefully Jeff Hardy, one, is okay and will be getting the help he needs. And arguably, most importantly, no one else was hurt.
Indeed.
This is the most important thing, ultimately.
It's like, if this is the final intervention of being able to get Jeff Hardy on a healthier living, healthier mindset sort of things, then that's great. I think the best thing it does is it hopefully prevents something really bad or really tragic happening down in the next couple of years or so. And I don't want to see that happen. I don't think any wrestling fan wants to see it happen. But
agreed.
I like to think the steps are being made, or hopefully the steps will be taken, and that sort of stuff. So,
indeed,
yeah.
So from there, then, not to just change the subject willy-nilly like that, and for want of a better word, go into a bit of a lighter note, but where would you like to go to next? Do you want to stay on the AEW realm of things, or would you like to venture to WWE?
Let's stick with AEW, because I think certain more sort of high-profile sort of things have been happening in terms of Forbidden Door.
Yes,
which we talked about which we talked about, I think, on the audio podcast side of things. So as he talked about, obviously, CM Punk's injury. And so obviously when we did our episode last week on audio podcast, we talked about CM Punk obviously being injured, having to kind of step away for a little bit to get surgery, but not relinquishing the AEW championship. He's going to hold on to it while AEW crown an interim champion. And we had the convoluted madness that was last week's Dynamite of a winner of Battle Royal, where the start of the show would go on to face Jon Moxley in the main event of the show, where the winner would go on to Forbidden Door to face either the winner of Tanahashi or is it
Hiroki Goto?
Hiroki Goto and New Japan Dominion, and whoever wins, that's your interim championship match. And as you can see, as we just had on the graphic for the benefit of audio listeners, the match is Mox versus Tanahashi for the interim AEW championship. So yeah, I mean,
what you've written down in our notes here as the most unsurprising of unsurprising things.
Generally, the whole thing was because when Dynamite announced that, we're going to have a battle royale, and then we're going to have the winner go up against Moxley at the end of the night. It's like, this could be a real curve. It's like they may actually decide, you know what, let's get Wardlow in there, or you know what, let's bank a little bit on the madness that is MJF right now and all that sort of stuff. But no, it's like, Kyle O'Reilly won. All right. That's great. You know what? I like Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly's fun. I like Kyle O'Reilly.
I was fine with it, and the main event match was good. Like, even though you basically knew there was no chance in hell Moxley wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. The thing is, though, right? This Battle Royal, it was all right. There were some interesting moments, but at best, it was all right.
Hang on, let's do a slight comparison in terms of Battle Royales or Casino Battle Royales, which are kind of like Royal Rumbles.
Which I thought it was a regular Battle Royal, not a freaking casino one. So when they suddenly went on the show and said it's a casino battle royal, there were two thoughts I had. One, okay, that's different. The second one was, we just said on the podcast that we did, it wasn't a casino battle royal. It's like, damn it, AEW.
Well, to be fair to AEW, a lot of things are happening that they can't control right now in terms of injuries and stuff like that. So I can forgive them for making the odd bit of miscommunication or something like that. I mean, half the time everyone was still trying to figure out what on earth was going on Dynamite last week after Rampage.
It was certainly a show, and that's speaking as someone who was a big AEW fan. But I think one thing that's worth noting, we've talked about who won. There were some good moments in there and such. Darby had a pretty good showing for as long as he was in there for.
Yeah,
but there were two pretty big omissions. That being Wardlow, like we talked about, and then there was Adam Page. The reasons for their omissions, I want to touch on this for a second. Because Wardlow came out, and so this is the thing. There is part of me that actually really liked Wardlow's reason.
Yeah.
Because he effectively said, look, Punk is the champion. When I get that belt, I want to be champion. But there is an element of, well, you can have the belt now, if you really wanted, the interim belt, and that's your ticket to get to Punk. But I kind of like the idea that he was like, no disrespect to whoever's going to be interim champion, I want to face the real champion for the belt. I kind of liked that as a thought.
That is good. That is good character thought process. And considering Wardlow is the meatiest of baby faces right now for AEW, it's kind of like, that's the ultimate babyface charm. That's the ultimate sort of, I'm a real hero. I might be powerbombing people, but my heroic deeds tell me I should wait for the real champion to emerge in that sort of sense.
But to then basically bury the TNT title and say, I want to make that title mean something again, it's suddenly like, okay.
Well, he ain't wrong.
No, he's not, but there was an element of, all right, sure. But now, Hangman Page.
Oh, yes.
As far as reasons go for not being in the Battle Royal, him just kind of, I think, offhandedly saying, it looks like I'm not going to get a title shot again anytime soon, so I'll go for the IWGP belt instead. That could have been worded a little bit better.
It's kind of like,
why isn't he getting a title shot anytime soon?
I mean, he could have. I think he could have just sort of said, you know what, I will sort out my situation with the AEW Championship soon. It's like I'm still coping with the loss. That title means a lot to me. I'm not in a place to go after again, because honestly, that would play in quite nicely to Paige's sort of own sort of struggle to get to the AEW World Championships,
insecurities and such as well.
Insecurities about having that belt, and I think that would have been a nice way to say, so I'm going to not think about that belt, but I'm going to turn my attention to a belt that I think I can win, which is the IWGP World Championship from Okada.
Or another word he could have said, or a belt that I've always admired and really wanted to win, like something that way, as opposed to just saying, I can leave that for now, but I'll go for this big shiny thing instead.
Yeah.
Like,
just make the reason believable. Because to be fair to AEW fans are incredibly smart with wrestling booking. They are probably more in the know about wrestling than maybe the casual fan that watches WWE. So
and at that point, and sorry to cut you off, but to sort of just move it forward to the next step, he then mentions Okada, like Kazuchika Okada, or Kazuchika, however you want to pronounce it, the IWGP champion at the time. And then I'm thinking, yes, this will be a really good match. I am up for this. And the crowd really responded to that idea as well. And then Adam Cole said something. And then Adam Cole, with his bright pink Owen Hart tournament belt, and is basically just going, no, I should get that belt. And it's like, okay, so we're now going to have like another qualifying match to see who's going to face Okada. And then, of course, I thought, oh, no, wait, this show's happening in America. It'll be a three-way, won't it? That, I guess, makes sense. I kind of don't want to see a three-way, but I'm up for it.
Well,
well, I'll let you go on, but there is a big but on this now.
There's a little bit of a but. It's because Okada's not champion anymore.
Yep. This past weekend at New Japan's Dominion pay-per-view, which I believe you can watch on New Japan World, the subscription service for anyone who wants to go and check it out, Jay White defeated Okada to become the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Which, of course, now means Hangman can't challenge Okada for the belt. Neither can Adam Cole, member of Undisputed Elite, friend of Bullet Club, which is the faction that Jay White is in.
So, have you watched like the post-match promo that Jay White did after?
I haven't, but the only thing I am aware of is he called it JEW, I think, which was really good. If that's true,
he did a very good. It's like
Jay White's awesome, by the way.
He got really sort of and it's like, well, I wouldn't say agitated, but just kind of nearly frothing him out of saying to the crowds, why aren't you cheering? I'm a champion. I stood in this building several years ago and I vowed I would become a champion and you cheered me. Why aren't you cheering me now? And that sort of things. Because also with New Japan, obviously from the audience standpoint, they don't go for the crazy sort of responses.
Well, you see, wrestling. Can I add another layer of this for you?
Okay, go on.
Makes it even better. It's not that the Japanese crowds don't cheer and get involved. It's that legally, currently, they're not allowed to. Because it shows they're not allowed to vocalize chants or anything. They're only allowed to give applause, because of COVID regulations and such.
Okay.
So literally, I think there was one show recently that was like a trial run. It wasn't a New Japan show for allowing crowds to cheer. And occasionally you hear the crowd respond because it's a natural reaction. You can't stop it. But but literally, Jay White going, why aren't you cheering for me? And there's part of it where it's like, because legally I can't. So it's a nice little bit of heel play there. Yeah. But from there, it's... So where do we go from here? There's two elements, but I'll let you finish your thoughts. Sorry.
Just to touch on, because he did the press conference afterwards, and basically he just has Bullet Club just give him a whole crate of alcohol, just dump it right on, just dump it right on the table, and Jay White goes into this wonderful sort of promo of saying like, oh, I scared off Adam Page. I scared off the Young Bucks. I scared off Kenny. They couldn't cut it to be champions here. So they went off and they made their own little wrestling promotion so they could be champions themselves. And it's kind of like, and he basically said, it's like you have Jay White to thank for AEW existing. Without Jay White getting rid of them, there is no AEW, there is no Hammer, there is no belt collector, Kenny Omega, and all that sort of stuff. It's like it's all because of Jay White doing the things that he does in New Japan. And I thought that was a really good promo, and a real kind of go, that's actually quite a nice way to build up tensions between the two brands. I think that's actually quite good, because one of the big things I think with Forbidden Door at the moment is it's cool that we're seeing New Japan talent turn up. We've had Will Ospreay appearing up on there recently. It's just, I think, for, again, a very casual audience, or audiences who are not well-versed in New Japan, and I think this is on your notes as well, maybe we need better introductions to the stars, to be honest.
Yes, 100%. Speaking as someone who is a big fan of Japanese wrestling but hasn't been able to watch a lot of it in recent times but tries to keep, the thing that comes across to me is like when Will Ospreay comes out, I know who Will Ospreay is, and a lot of people in the crowd did. But there's a lot of people who haven't got a bloody clue who he is. And tonight on Dynamite, because I think he's wrestling Dax Harwood, which should be a great match. If you haven't seen the 6-man tag match from Rampage, by the way, go and watch it. It's so good. But there's an element of there will be a great introduction to him tonight. But I think just little video packages would go such a long way. And one would assume that tonight tonight on Dynamite, at the time we're broadcasting this and recording this, I should say.
Yeah.
Tonight's Dynamite should hopefully reveal more of what's going to be at Forbidden Door. And then maybe in the week leading up to Forbidden Door, there'll be more of an introduction to get people up for what is on the show. But in terms of where, it's in my brain, in terms of where this IWGP picture will go to, I think it's either going to be a 4-way with Jay White inserted, or we're going to get a straight tag match. It'll be Bullet Club and Undisputed Elite versus Okada and Paige. Which would I rather see? It's do you know what? It's a pick 'em. It's a 50-50. But honestly, I'd probably lean more towards the tag match. Because I don't think Jay White's going to lose the title in a 4-way on his first defense.
I don't think, I mean, if there was a 4-way and he lose it, he'd probably lose it back to Okada. He wouldn't lose it to Cole. He wouldn't lose it to Paige. I think even if Paige and Okada did have that match for the belt, I can't see Paige winning. I see Okada retaining. It's one of these things, with the exception of probably. But then again, it's like I can't. It's like I just think it's just like it's kind of like signposted that Moxie's going to become interim AEW champion, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the safest thing. And it's like you could have a little cameo run with Tanahashi, and then have that Tanahashi CM Punk match when Punk's back. It's there. It's there to have fun with. But I think in light of situations, I think we're going to see Mox as champion again. Not a bad thing, but it's kind of like you want a little bit of excitement, a little bit of a nice surprise or something like that. So having like a title change or a sudden championship win from someone you didn't really expect. I mean, if Tanahashi wins the belt, that'll be quite cool because it's like, oh, this is something new and exciting.
Like I mentioned on the bonus show last week, I think that was actually quite a fun little twist. And like I saw Jay White and Okada at Madison Square Garden on the ROH G1 Supercard when I went to WrestleMania. It was the night before. Yeah. Such a good match. Like, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, like the feeling when Okada won the belt, because I didn't think it was part of me is thinking, they won't change it here at Madison Square Garden. It's the most famous arena, but you know, they won't change it. And then he won it, and it was just kind of like, I might have a video on my phone somewhere. But the one thing you've got to give credit for, while we literally only officially know like one match, technically, 2 if you count another match, which we'll talk about in a second, is that there is a lot of, you don't know how things are going to go on this show in terms of results. And there was a recent New Japan and Pro Wrestling Noah crossover show in Japan. It happened earlier this year, which I watched the show. There were some fun moments in it, but holy crap, was it heavily New Japan, like strong, as it were. Bad pun on their own TV show, but it wasn't like an equal show. I think if there were 10 matches on the card, it ended like New Japan winning 8-2 or something ludicrous like that. Like, it was kind of like, okay, well, that was a crossover show worth it, isn't it?
It's dare I say, it's a throwaway Survivor Series. Ooh,
there you go. Right. So there's a lot of mystery as to how things could play out on this, which I do like.
I think that just to really kind of pick up on that a little bit, it's just kind of, you're 2 weeks away from Forbidden Door. You really need to start selling it, or I think they were going to start probably selling it the moment Double or Nothing was done. The problem is, obviously,
the moment Tanahashi came out after that 6-man tag with Punk, when he brought him out, that was the moment when it was going to start. And then it rapidly had to get, hang on, pause button.
Hang on, everyone pause.
Hang on, control Z, edit, undo, and all that.
This isn't the way we need to go now. We have to go a different way. There's problems. So it's like, again, this is like, I want to be excited for the show, and I think the show will be good. And I'm going to watch the show because I think that it's going to be good fun. And obviously, it's the point of the podcast. We talk about wrestling. I would not be a good wrestling podcaster on the show if I just went, "You watch Forbidden Door?" Nah. I think people will be frothing at the mouth, I think, a little bit on that one. I've been saying, I don't know why I've said frothing the mouth twice in this episode.
It's your phrase of the week. This is going to be a new feature now. Your phrase of the week.
Yeah, just a random tangent. It's like we were joking at work this week about words like interesting words, and we came up with shenanigans, and we just went, right, that's the word of the week, shenanigans. And it's like, I know shenanigans from WWE overbooking.
Do you know what one of my favorite words is? Slight tangent. Skullduggery.
Oh,
such a good word.
Oh,
Excalibur, if you happen to be listening to this, please use the word skullduggery at some point in the next month on AEW TV. Or Taz, one or the other. Come on. So, anyway, right. So elsewhere on the show. Now, in terms of other things that are going to be happening, likely going to be some kind of tag team or 6-man tag match involving Will Ospreay's United Empire faction and FTR and all the best friends. That sort of was set up on Dynamite last week.
Yeah, that seems a given.
Yeah, I would assume there's going to be more Bullet Club Undisputed Elite crossover shenanigans.
Are you aware of Zack Sabre Jr. calling out Danielson?
I am aware of that, and I am oh so excited.
It's like if Danielson's back from an injury, yes, please. I think that'll be fun. Mm-hmm. I think that'll be very fun.
Are you aware of? I mean, this. I'll try not to delay things too much. But are you aware of the history involving Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr.?
I'm not fully aware.
So to give the cliff notes, one of Danielson, this is like 07, 08. It might even be 05 time. I can't remember exactly. I think it was he wrestled a show like around Coventry or around the Midlands in England for our international listeners. And he wrestled against Zack Sabre Jr., not knowing him at all. And he was blown away by how good of a technical wrestler he was, and basically put him over like a bajillion bucks and loved him to bits. So, and then Zack built up his name doing his thing. Danielson continued doing his thing. And I don't think they've really crossed paths again. But one of the big sort of internet stories, if you will, is that in the Wrestling Observer annual awards that they do, there's like they call it the Bryan Danielson Technical Wrestler of the Year award. And, Bryan Danielson would win it because he's a really damn good technical wrestler. But while he was in WWE, Zack Sabre Jr. was eclipsing him because he couldn't necessarily be as technical. So Zack Sabre Jr. won the award like loads of years in a row. And I think Danielson finally got to reclaim his award. So it's kind of a little bit of internet, chicanery relating to that. No. But it is also just... These two had like a match very early in their career, arguably, or much, much earlier, I should say, in their respective careers. But they've both now come on leaps and bounds. So the idea of them wrestling each other now is just like, chef's kiss. So that's going to be good. The other thing that we know is going to be happening is there will be a 4-way match. Because randomly, Ian... Well, I say randomly, we've known for a while there was going to be a new championship coming to AEW. It's all been confirmed. We're getting trios championships. No one expected another singles championship to be called the All-Atlantic Championship, which would be contested in a, what I'm going to call, quote-unquote, tournament, i.e. 4 qualifying matches to get into a 4-way. which would then conclude at Forbidden Door. If anyone had this on a bingo card or put a bet on this, you clearly are in Tony Khan's brain.
I mean, why? I mean, don't get me wrong. Having another sort of championship to let other people kind of shine and let their talent shine through is a great thing, but how many belts are on AEW right now? Thanks, considering we still got RH, it kind of whirling in the background, ready to go at some point. We've got an AEW championship, we've got a women's championship, we've got a tag team championship, we've got
TNT,
TNT, TBS. So there's six there.
If you count it, the FTW.
There's 7. You've got Ring of Honor World Champion,
World TV Tag Women's Pure.
It's like Tony. I know but it's like give us fine. An anti-champion's cool because it could be like a European Championship thing from the old days of WWE. Fine, whatever. But it's like that. It's not really the belts I think people wanted.
So it's funny because, like, when I saw the belt design, I immediately thought of the old European Championship because the actual design of the belt, it looks so good.
I like the belt.
And like, this is it's a sidebar but related, but the European Championship was a championship I loved when I was younger growing up. Like, not just because Bulldog had it most of the time, but just because I love the idea, champion of Europe. Like, there's, the WWF champion and whatnot, but the European champion, that's the champion like I can more relate to because I'm in Europe. I know that sounds really weird, but that's how Kid Jeremy's brain thought. So I really loved the European Championship. And my initial thinking was All Atlantic Championship is a name. You could have even just called it like the international title or something.
Also, don't want to be a little bit pedantic here. And I'm going to look at the belt here.
So for the benefit of audio listeners, we've got a picture of the belt on screen on the video right now.
Forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't think Japan is in the Atlantic Ocean. Is near it's somewhere close to the Atlantic Ocean.
Aren't all oceans connected?
I know it's all water.
You activated my trap card.
I mean, it's like, well, it is all water. It's the all water elite championship. No, we're not going to the fun part.
They could have called it quick thesaurus in my brain. The Oceanic title.
Call it the International Championship.
Yeah.
Done.
But
Bye,
everyone. See, this is why I've got a theory now, okay? I reckon, because apparently there's going to be a New Japan wrestler in this match, I think the New Japan wrestler is going to win because I think this is a title that is mainly going to be contested outside of AEW.
That makes sense.
Kind of as a way to kind of have the brand be more globally recognized as well.
So who would it be then?
Have they announced who the New Japan participants are yet? Let me do a quick little Google. Bear with me. Wait. First person that comes to mind, Tomohiro Ishii. I would say have him beat a belt.
Just to clarify this a little bit, we're having qualifiers for a fatal 4-way. And then the winner of that fatal 4-way goes on to face someone at Forbidden Door?
No. The 4-way is the title match.
All right. Okay.
So who won last week? I can't remember it off the top of my head. But
it was Pac.
It was Pac, wasn't it? So Pac is in the 4-way. Tonight we've got Miro and Ethan Page. They'll be in the 4-way. Then I think it's Malachi Black and Penta is the next qualifier as well. So they'll be in the 4-way. And then whoever wins the New Japan match will be in there as well. Okay. Why is this so difficult to Google, for crying out loud? AEW. He's kind of like Forbidden Planet, the comic shop. It's like, I like Forbidden Planet. It's not what I'm Googling.
AEW Forbidden Planet. It's the battle in the stars on a Anarchy Moon match between Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho in spacesuits. Book it, Tony. Book it.
Right. It doesn't seem like they've actually announced the New Japan qualifier yet.
All right,
so take that for what it's worth. But now, are you aware of a slight detail which has come out, which kind of already indicates one of the other participants in this match?
Well, didn't Pac beat Buddy Murphy last week? So from a storytelling perspective, Malachi Black will probably win his qualifier, and then he'll cancel Pac out for winning the belt.
Well, ironically, it is actually relating to the Malachi Black Penta match. So this is now where politics come into play in wrestling, everyone. Don't enjoy this, but I'll try and keep it to 60 seconds. New Japan has got a history of having a relationship with the CMLL promotion in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And like relationships like that, they're very closely forged. They don't break easily or change very often. Mm-hmm. AEW's primary Mexican partner, for want of a better word, has been AAA, like the rival of CMLL. So seemingly, I think it's Andrade, Penta, and Phoenix can't appear on the Forbidden Door pay-per-view because of politics, even though Andrade isn't actually under contract to AAA. I think that would include Roosh as well, who was announced at Double or Nothing, who has been sort of, in some way part of the company as well. So, so probably don't expect, again, for want of a better word, the luchadors that have been in AEW to be appearing on Forbidden Door, which is a shame, because there are some potentially great tag team matches on the prospects there. Yeah,
a shame, but obviously, if it's a business thing. At the end of the day, it's kind of like when it's like, why hasn't Spider-Man appeared here yet? It's mostly because Sony and Disney are having a bit of a conversation, and sometimes it doesn't go well. That's how you get Morbius.
Why couldn't you call Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and Avengers Age of Ultron mutants? Well, kids, let's talk about business.
Well, 20th Century Fox, who we will own eventually, have kind of said no.
I bet that was the actual conversation as well.
Just sitting down with those fans, saying, let's get down. Let's get down with the fans and tell them how it is. They say no, so we're going to buy them in a couple of years. Is that okay? Yes. Thank you. Awesome.
In terms of how Forbidden Door is going to ultimately end up, though, it wouldn't surprise me if we get a fair amount of tag matches, which seems to be a very popular thing to do in Japanese wrestling, partly because, and this is from me having been to the Pro Wrestling Noah shows in the UK and the Dragon Gate shows in the UK as well, sometimes tag matches are a great way of showcasing a large amount of talent, but you can also get some matchups you may want, even if it's not a singles match. So, for example, if two people have had a heated rivalry, one way to get them to face each other without outright giving them that one match is to put them in a tag team match against each other, which in itself can lead to some very interesting dynamics. I just personally hope we don't have a match involving House of Torture. And now that I've said that, it's going to happen. House of Torture, 20 seconds. It's a stable within Bullet Club, basically. It's like a splinter, if you will, of Bullet Club. But notoriously, virtually all of their matches, at best, are really naff. Put it this way, Tomohiro Ishii, who 9 times out of 10 has a freaking classic match, I think like on Cage Match or something now, he has a 1-star match because he was involved in a match with House of Torture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting stable. I mean, purple and black's a cool combo, just not with the interference. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Forbidden Door. I think it's going to be a great show on the night. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing it. But come like the end of, let's say, come Friday this week, I would like to know pretty much the entire card. I think that's where we need to be at this point.
Yeah. I think if we're still a week away, if we're still like on the go-home show and we still have no idea what some of the main matches are going to be, that's not great. Just from a buying perspective, 9 times out of 10, you kind of would like to know what you're buying to you're getting into. In the sense where you know what you're
show on Fight TV anyway. I'll just go quick look.
It'll probably be the same amount as AEW shows. I can't imagine it being cheaper.
Let's have a look.
And I can't imagine it. I don't think it's including the AEW Plus account.
No, it won't be. It'll be under a pay-per-view category. Also, I say TNA Impact Slammiversary very soon as well. It's regular price $20.
Oh, fair enough. So shall we have a quick rundown of what's happening on Road Rager tonight?
Yes, it's. I mean, talking about not knowing matches that are happening, we pretty much know everything that's happening on Road Rager tonight because we have got, in no particular order, a face-to-face confrontation of some kind between Jon Moxley and Hiroshi Tanahashi, the long-delayed match, which seemingly, according to an interview from Tony Khan today, he has stopped from happening multiple times before. Because so not in a bad way, just in a probably no, let's save that. Let's do that later kind of thing.
It's like, I want it. I want a match. I want it on my brand. Oh, for God's sake.
In a match that wasn't promoted at all, apart from a quick video package on Rampage last week, hair versus hair, Jericho versus Ortiz.
I mean, a beautiful bald Chris Jericho would be fun to watch, but I can't imagine him losing his hair.
I mean, if he's on tour with Fozzy and all those promo shots he's done, stranger things have happened, but then maybe Jericho's thinking, you know what? It's really hot out. I just want to feel
the sun on my glorious bald head.
Gleam!
Let seagulls land on it, possibly shat on it. I don't know.
We also have Tony Storm v Britt Baker, which should be a really fun match. Now, kind of pivoting back to the Jeff Hardy news. Originally, it was going to be a three-way ladder match involving the Hardys. Hardys, I say obviously, but for want of a better word, are no longer in the match. So now it is a straight-up tag team ladder match with Jurassic Express defending against the Young Bucks.
I mean, I think it's kind of like the question of it's not if Jurassic Express are losing the belts, it's when are they losing the belts now? Because it's like it feels like we've been on like a mini collision course of, well, Christian's going to turn, isn't he? At some point,
he's going to turn when they lose the belts. Now, that's what I think.
I think Bucks might pick up the belts again. I'm not opposed to the Bucks picking up the belts, but probably not don't give them another long crazy reign. I think basically Bucks might probably grab them. They'll turn heel again for a little bit. FTR take the belts off them as white hot baby faces, which they are at the moment. So
I suppose that the question that's in my brain, this is me trying to do fantasy booking now, is from the perspective of Forbidden Door. Hypothetically, one might assume the tag titles will be defended on that show. And there's a very obvious thing you could do involving the Young Bucks, because they could very easily be in a Bullet Club related match.
Or couldn't they just do, who are the New Japan have tag team champions?
They do. I've totally forgotten who they are off the top of my head. Let me quickly look it up for you.
Yeah, because I kind of think it wouldn't just make sense to have your biggest profile tag team against New Japan's biggest profile tag team.
They are currently list of IWGP Tag Team Champions. I'm sure there's probably a reason I don't know who they are off the top of my head. He says trying to frantically look through a list of champions. Oh, no, it's currently the Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb because they won them at Dominion. That's why I couldn't remember.
And they did, and I think they have already appeared on AEW and attacked FTR.
Correct.
So there's a match happening there at some point.
Yeah, that's why I reckon probably a 6-man tag match maybe involving United Empire. That's why I was thinking that.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, actually, tonight, Dax Harwood v. Will Ospreay, who is the new IWGP US champion, by the way, following this weekend. This match is going to be good fun. I am looking forward to this. I think Ospreay should get the win because, quite frankly, I'm surprised that he didn't win on Friday in that 6-man. But it was really good with the Aussie Open 6-man tag match. Really, really good. All-Atlantic qualifier, Miro versus Ethan Paige. I'd honestly take either person in the match. There's part of me that wants to lean more towards Ethan Paige because I don't think Miro needs the title.
It's like, I think Ethan Paige, I think it's kind of, obviously he's been Scorpion Sky with the Men of the Year. Maybe it's time to let Ethan Paige kind of like have a nice sort of singles run, or just kind of like a showcase moment for him, to be honest, because he's had a couple of good moments in AEW as a singles matches. It's because he had a really good match with Moxie when Moxie had just come back from rehab. So
had a ridiculous coffin match against Darby as well.
Yeah, I think Paige would probably, it would be nice to see Paige pick up the win, but again, if Miro's just come back, so maybe it's like all aboard the Miro redemption arc of Miro versus God. Something like
all
that.
All aboard the Miro train. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
And
Game
then,
over.
also as part of this show, which I want to try and find the exact name of it quickly, so bear with me, but the Wardlow story continues as it is literally going to be 20-on-1 with the plaintiffs of whoever is suing Wardlow against Wardlow. I think this is going to be a gauntlet match of some kind, if memory serves, rather than just 20 at the same time. That said, I really want to just see 20 men versus Wardlow.
I think if Wardlow can powerbomb each of those men one after the other, I think the job is done. Basically, there's no question Wardlow's winning this match. We just want to see Wardlow just destroy people now. It's just like, oh, we don't want to feed any actual stars. Give me security. It'll be fun.
There is a fantastic image on AEW social media at the moment. They've got like one of like the old school weighing scales. Yeah. And they've got Wardlow on one side of the scales and the 20 men on the other, and it's just level.
It's like what? It's like what if I had 100 million security guards against the sun? 100 million, or maybe 100 million Wardlows against the sun. The sun is doomed.
Oh my word! So yeah, this is going to be. I think tonight's Dynamite is going to be good fun. I'm looking forward to it. Last week's was a bit of a cluster, and I'm trying to put it as politely as I can. It achieved certain things, but in a way, it was kind of the most we have to just make this happen show we've seen in quite a while from AEW. Mm-hmm. And also, don't sit on Rampage from last week. If anyone listening to this has not seen it, it was a really good addition. Watch Kingston v. Hager. They beat the piss out of each other. It was great. And obviously, the 6-man tag main event, also really great. And Chris Statlander looked really freaking good against Red Velvet as well. Chris Statlander v. Jade, that's going to happen at Forbidden Door, I reckon.
Oh, that'll be a good match. That'll be a very good match.
Indeed.
Right. So I think we'll be covering Forbidden Door in full on our next live show, which will be, I think, in 2 weeks' time. I think
indeed. Or failing that, depending how much news does or doesn't break, we may just record another bonus episode for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, we're definitely talking on the next video show. Absolutely. So yes, right. Shall we go to the wacky world of WWE?
Oh, wacky world of WWE. So, where do you want to begin with the wacky world of WWE?
Well, let's start with a little bit of contract news because, I mean, it's not really surprising, but it's still newsworthy that it's actually happening now, and that is Paige's WWE contract will run out in July. It is not being renewed, and she shared that news on her Twitch channel. She goes by Soraya, which I believe is
that is her name, I believe. Yeah,
her real name on Twitch and so forth. And I mean, she briefly came back in I think 2018.
So she got injured on a house show, didn't she? Yeah. That ultimately, well, I say at this point has been the last match she has wrestled in. Yeah. But since then, she had come back and done some on-screen personality stuff. She was a manager, of
Kabuki Warriors.
I was going to say Absolution for a little bit, but I was wrong. Was she part of the Riot Squad? No. Who was it?
No, when they did the whole sort of start of the Absolution with Mandy and Sonya, and it was when she arrived and came with them. I think it was just after a WrestleMania, so she'd returned to the ring. She brought Mandy, she brought Sonya, and just a few weeks, I think, into that sort of run, she had the injury at the house show, and that's what led to her sort of in-ring retirement, and then managing Kabuki Warriors, which is Kairi Sane and Oscar, and I think they won the tag team belts at Mania when it was locked down, that sort of stuff.
That sounds familiar,
But other than that, there's not really much that's been going on with Paige in WWE, and she's just been doing the Twitch side of things.
It comes across to me, and I'm going to try not to make this sound really cynical and horrible, but I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. It probably comes across to me that given that she was injured inside a WWE ring, they probably gave her another contract as kind of a part of a let's see if we can make this work sort of thing. Yeah. Kind of like they did for a little bit with Bryan Danielson when he ended up just being like a GM for a little while or something, where he was still on TV. I think in a way they probably gave her a contract, one, to keep her around because she's got a ton of knowledge. Like her family is literally in the wrestling business, quite literally. So she's got a ton of knowledge, can pass on a lot of stuff, and also it's just a fun personality to have around.
I think there was also hopefully the belief that with Bryan Danielson coming back from injury, Edge coming back from there was a possibility that Paige might be able to, and that's still. I think it's a kind of never say never sort of things. It's not like, I mean, I don't know how wrestlers think, but it's just like you kind of. I think that's me trying to think what other people think, and that's kind of wrong. I shouldn't say it like that. I think for a wrestler, if they feel like they can give it another go or try and give it another go, I think they probably would. The fact is WWE just elected not to re-sign. That was basically it. They just basically said thanks, but
which and I mean this now in a slightly brutal business sense, which given the amount of cuts they've been doing in recent times is kind of unsurprising in some ways. Like, and I hate to sound so harsh about that, but not renewing someone's contract who's not an active in-ring performer, you can kind of understand from a budget cuts point of view, quote unquote, why that decision may have been made.
I think ultimately, it kind of senses that WWE were probably not as optimistic for a possible in-ring return or trying to find. I mean, it's ridiculous that you can't find a high-profile place for Paige to be kind of even, probably not a commentator, probably not involved in like talking smack or raw talk or something like that. But there are probably other things you could have probably found. I mean, boost the profile of NXT UK.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just NXT as a whole.
I mean, to be honest, it's like we've seen stars, and I'll talk about another star who's kind of shifted back over to NXT for a little bit, and it's it gives them something to do, but it also gives them it gives the brand a bit of a spotlight. So I'm surprised there hasn't been more done. But the fact of the matter is, I think Paige is still a very big name. I mean, it's just the fact is we're talking about Paige leaving WWE or having a WWE contract finally run out. Sort of sense. It does say she's a big name. There will be promotions ready to kind of go, hey, we would like to talk to you. So don't be surprised if you see her in AEW or Impact, even Stardom, maybe. I don't know.
Fair point. I would say, in a weird way, though, to be the other side of the devil's advocate now, it is kind of weird they maybe didn't try to, unless they have already just said as a one shot they might do it, but with Clash at the Castle coming up, she could very easily have been a little bit of a promotional machine for that.
Yeah. It's like little things like that they could do, but just... I mean, Drew McIntyre has been the promotion train on that one since day one, I think, to be honest. So.
Yeah. Oh, talking of Drew McIntyre, actually, not to derail this even further. Random note, I was in the supermarket like the other day. I can't remember what day it was. And you know, sometimes by the tills, they have like just the newspapers there, so you could just grab one. And the first thing I saw was like, I think it was I don't know what paper it was, I don't care, but they said like exclusive Tyson Fury to return to the ring after retirement. And I literally thought, didn't he just retire? And didn't he just call out Drew McIntyre? And I suddenly thought, plans changed. Literally. And it just makes a lot of sense now, because why else would Tyson Fury mention the Cardiff show and suddenly is not on there and Drew's not fighting him? It's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
But I don't know if we talked about it last when we talked about in the bonus podcast, but it's like Drew's kind of said, I want a championship match at Clash at the Castle. Right?
In Wales.
Champions.
In Wales. Just say in Wales.
The Clash at Wales. The Clash at Wales.
Clash at Wales.
The Clash at Wales. So yeah, he wants Roman there. So I think Drew is going to face Roman. I can't. Maybe at another silly crown jewel or something, we'll see Tyson Fury and millions of fireworks again. And then
I'm sure the local population will be delighted.
It's like it's just a side tangent. We are going to get back on things. I still remember the press conference for that crown jewel when it was Tyson versus Strowman, Velasquez versus Lesnar. It was the weirdest thing ever. And it's just kind of like it's done in complete silence. And Tyson Fury just goes, I'm going to come out, I'm going to box him, and I'm going to win. And he just does a few jumps. I'm going to hit him with that, I'm going to hit him with this, I'm going to hit him with that, I'm going to hit him with this. It's like, great, Tyson. You do know this is a wrestling match, right?
And how will you wrestle?
And how will you do the upper? Well, well, the stupid thing is he won by count out by knocking Braun Strowman out outside the ring.
The most definitive way to win in a WWE ring, the count out.
And cue the fireworks. So yes,
the enormous amount of pyro.
Anyway, speaking of Roman Reigns, he's going to defend the undisputed WWE Universal Championship for the first time since WrestleMania this Friday.
Wait, what, on SmackDown?
Yeah, against Riddle.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think we were supposed to have Reigns versus Riddle at Money in the Bank.
But you know why it's not happening there now? Because it's not in a stadium.
It's not in a stadium.
So what they're doing instead is they're putting it in an even smaller arena than the one that Money in the Bank's in. See the thinking there?
Yeah. And basically, the main stipulation is Riddle loses, he can't challenge Roman again while he's champion. So, yeah, okay. It's like I mean, I don't think anyone's expecting Riddle to win. I mean, it'll be nice if Riddle pulled an upset and it's like, oh, we're free from the Reigns madness right now. Because I think the big thing that's really starting to get to fans, I mean, yeah, even I find a little bit annoying, is the whole thing of Reigns has got this new contract. Fair enough. Nothing wrong with having that new contract. But the problem is, and this is a tweet from WrestleVotes. According to a source, the decision to unify the titles was with the understanding it would allow Roman Reigns to appear on both shows more regularly. And then a couple of dots. Maybe that wasn't the best decision because they've unified the titles. Reigns just went, I'm going to sign this new contract. It's like, I'm off for the summer. Bye. It's like, Roman, come back. Roman!
He's literally become the new Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Well, the fact is, when Brock did it, it still felt like a big deal when Brock came back because you knew he was the box office draw, and he only had one belt at the time. He only had one belt. So it's like there was another big championship to be concerned about. The fact that Reigns has both the belts still, and it's kind of like, I mean, it's. I guess it must be frustrating for WWE Crave because it was clear before the injury Cody Rhodes was the front center attraction for WWE during the summer, obviously with the torn pec and him being away for several months. That ain't happening. So we've had the weird things of Edge being kicked out of the Judgment Day, which makes no sense in itself at all.
Plans change.
And it's like, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because I mean, the quality of SmackDown's got a bit shit, to be honest, because there's no, again, when you don't have a champion with the belt or have a legitimate strong title belt, it doesn't work. It's like it's remember during the early days of SmackDown Live, you had the WWE Championship feud of like Mox and of Mox when he was Dean Ambrose against AJ Styles. That was a big thing, but you also had a great strong like mid-card title feud between Dolph Ziggler and The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. And that was amazing back in 2016. But the Intercontinental Championship hasn't been on a pay-per-view, I think, since, I can't remember, but it hasn't been defended on a pay-per-view maybe for most of this year, to be honest.
Hopefully that's going to change. We'll get onto that in a minute.
But obviously, you know the US Championship is in a great position where on Raw this week, you have a main event of a pose-off. Yeah, so so we're having a Bobby Lashley feud with Theory at the moment, and the latest step was let's have a pose off, doing muscle poses and so forth. So everyone's doing like the big muscle poses and stuff like that. Lashley won by crowd response, got baby oil in the eye for his troubles from Theory.
Sorry, I'm just imagining that on like on a wrestling news website, like Match Report, had Bobby Lashley won by crowd response.
I mean, how else do you judge a pose off? You don't have judges there, do you? Well, you do have judges in your.
They should have a decibel counter. That's how you should do it.
Yeah, so we have that. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's like great. It's like as much as, I mean, the plan is still apparently Reigns Rock Mania next year, which is possible because Rock hasn't got any movie commitments for the start of next year.
The Rock and Reigns connection.
Get out.
All right.
Get out right now.
Have fun doing the rest of the show.
Come back. Come back. We haven't talked about name changes.
What?
Not yet. So it's. I hope Clash at Wales. That's the title now. Clash at Wales. Clash at Wales. I'm going to give it a title every episode now until the actual show.
I'm a bingo card, everybody. What's Ian going to call it this week?
Clash at Wales this week. So I kind of think if we're making that show a very big deal, and they have been making it a big deal, especially with the ticket pricing and all that sort of stuff, I would not be surprised if McIntyre actually dethrones Reigns. I think that's where we may be leaning to.
I fully expect it to happen.
Just to get the belts off Reigns, and then who knows? Maybe just go, I will defend one belt at a time, and then everyone has an equal chance. I'll defend. Do you know when, like the Clash of Champions, when Seth was United States champion and WWE champion? He had a match against Cena, then straight after that, Sting came and went, all right, I'm going to fight you now. It's like, all right, do it like that. It'd be fun. I don't know. Of course, crazy. So let's do our happy name change of the episode, shall we?
All right, come on then, throw it at me.
So recently, we haven't really probably talked about this, but LA Knight is now on the main roster.
Okay,
he's on SmackDown. He's going to run a male modeling agency of WWE superstars. So they're going to be pretty handsome, but also be powerful, strong, and all that stuff. But he's not called an LA Knight.
Oh no.
What do you think he's called? Knowing all that you know about WWE name changes.
I nearly said Marcel, but that was the name of what's his name now? Ludwig Kaiser.
Yes.
Who was Marcel Bartel, who was Axel Dieter Jr. before he was in WWE. It needs to be something really pretentious and like Beverly Hills. I don't know, something like Clarence Barnivov.
That's a good name, but it's not right.
Oh, shucks.
It's like Roy Walker going, oh, it's a good name, but it's wrong.
Randy pulling out a Roy Walker reference, sure.
It's not like I watch Catchphrase on my streams every Monday at 8 p.m. over on twitch.tv/theDekkerDane.
Oh, do you really?
Oh, do I really? So his name is Max Dupree. The emphasis on the pre. So it's
wait, really?
Yep.
Oh, so it's got an upward inflection each time.
And the male models is Maximum Male Models, I think. I mean, we're due to see the first client appear very soon, and I don't know who it's going to be. I think it might be Mace from Retribution.
Do you think they've called him Max for a reason? Given that there is a Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who no one will now talk about on television, that almost seems quite timely to me. I'm probably
the name change. No, the name change came about three and a bit weeks ago.
Oh God, did it?
Yeah, it's just we just haven't had a chance to talk about name changes in a while.
So Max Dupree,
Dupree.
What was the death metal voice? Dupree.
I thought, is he related to Remy Dupree from like
Rene Dupree, who is now currently in Pro Wrestling Noah in Japan again.
See,
but no Fifi?
Oh, never mind. So yes, that's your random name change of the episode, all done and dusted. In other news, Gunther is Intercontinental Champion, which we kind of called.
Yes,
had a fun match against Ricochet.
I caught the highlights of this on WWE's YouTube. It was great. It was stiff. It was freaking great. I really liked the way they showed Ricochet putting up a fight, almost knowing it was a losing battle. And I foresee the Intercontinental title being great fun. Not to say it wasn't with Ricochet, because I've not been following SmackDown, so I can't speak to that. But I can just imagine the carnage and destruction that Gunther is going to lead. And you know what else? This is the perfect opportunity to use the Intercontinental title as a building block for a future world title contender. Because if anyone's going to get a world title shot at some point, and I really want to see Drew versus Gunter Walter. I'm just saying, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I think that will be dream match. That is a WWE dream match, and hopefully, there you go, Drew. There you go. There is your SmackDown Championship feud there for like Royal Rumble through to Mania.
Oh no!
Versus Drew.
Dekker-san, get it right. If they're gonna do it anywhere, they will of course do it where no one can get to, and that'll be Crown Jewel.
Oh fuck!
You know they will. If they're gonna do it anywhere, it'll be a show that no fan who really wants to see it can get to.
Yeah, I mean we talked about it before. It's just like the moral issues of the show are horrible. But it's kind of from a storytelling perspective, you kind of have to pay attention to it now.
I'll tell you what though, if you want a match that would encapsulate the name of Survivor Series, right?
Possibly, we'll have to see. And just briefly in the world of NXT, Apollo Crews has gone back to NXT. Yes, he appeared 2 weeks ago on the post In Your House show. Bron Breakker is still your NXT champion. Had a decent match with Joe Gacy. Hopefully that's the end of the Joe Gacy attempt to be the world champion.
The way you said that speaks volumes.
Here's the thing. I don't mind the character of Joe Gacy. The Joe Gacy character, he's not leading on like safe zones or like the whole, because when he started, it was kind of like just really making a kind of really taking a dig at obviously things like safe spaces and stuff like that. It was really kind of weird and just weird bollocksly wrong. But then he's turning into like a culty thing again, and we're going down like a Bray Wyatt area. But the fact of the matter is, he wears the most boring attire to a wrestler. It's like Constable Corbin levels bad. He just turns up in a black shirt, a short sleeve black shirt, and some trousers. And that's an entire. It's like, no, if you've got druids with you when you're coming to the ring, have something that matches the druids. I don't know, like your own royal costume. I don't know. I don't like the costume. It annoys me.
I was trying to think who else was just like smartly dressed as a wrestler. One of them I don't want to mention now.
Corbin.
No, but before him. I was trying to think of, I did think of someone else, but I don't want to mention them because of stuff they've been saying on Twitter recently.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
You know what? I was going to say Constable Corbin or other wrestler. I'm just going to drop that. Let's just move on. But, okay, sure. As for Apollo Crews being there, in a way, it's a shame he's not on SmackDown or Raw, whichever brand he was on. I genuinely can't remember. But at the same time, the potential for like... I don't know if you... Because I saw his matches before he went to WWE, like when he was in Dragon Gate doing stuff on the indies. So good.
He had some decent matches in NXT as well. He had some nice little building matches in NXT, and then he was just suddenly called up in 2016. And the fact is, I think he was one of those. It's like when talents just suddenly get yanked up to NXT too soon. Apollo Crews was one of those. So being back in NXT allows him to kind of flourish a bit more or get a more deserved spotlight. So you can put him in the North American Championship against Carmelo Hayes. You can put him in the NXT title picture against Braun Breaker, because I think he'll get really good matches. And it's just a chance to reinvent yourself. Look at Mandy Rose. Well, yes, she's still NXT Women's Champion, and Toxic Attraction is starting to sort of outstay their welcome as a winning unit. It's still a good example of someone who wasn't getting the stuff that they really kind of wanted or were getting on the main roster. They go to NXT and they just feel rejuvenized, revitalized, stuff like that. Viking Warriors have done it. Viking Raiders have done it. AJ Styles had a quick stop off. I mean, it's like, it's good that they are.
Riddle for like a week as well?
Yeah, Riddle went there for a week as well with MSK before they split up.
Ironically, wasn't that in place in Jeff Hardy, funnily enough?
Yes, it was.
Well, that's a bad callback. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, so it's like I like the fact that they do the cross transition a little bit, because it gives people, again, it gets eyes on the product, but at least
it's like a comic book universe.
Yes, it's like they're going to leave one universe and join another. I mean, that still doesn't stop the name changes, but at least people get used to it, I suppose. I don't know.
It's like when Spider-Man pops up in the Captain Marvel book, you know?
Hello, I'm no longer Spider-Man. I am Man-Spider. And it's like, wait a minute. And then you just have random passers-by when he's doing crime fighting. Spider-Man! Spider-Man! No, it's Man-Spider now.
I'm the Man-Spider.
I picked this name. And Mickey's going, no, you didn't.
We could deviate into comic books for ages, but actually, funny, you know what? I can make this somewhat work. Did you know that recently Nyla Rose penned an X-Men comic book?
No, I did not.
She wrote a story. I've actually got it in in my other room. I haven't actually had a chance to read it because I picked it up today because I suddenly thought, I should look for that in the comic shop when I bought some other stuff. But she recently did like a reboot story for, I believe it's the X-Man character Warpath. I believe it is. So she kind of done like her own take on it, and I think either co-wrote or wrote a story recently. So I'm going to give that a read and looking forward to reading it. So there you go. There's a genuine crossover. Also, I think CM Punk's written a story as well, or a couple. I remember he did a few.
Oh yeah. He's done some comic stuff before.
I think Batista might have done one as well. Actually, come to think of it, but I digress now further. But there you go. I managed to bring that back on track somewhat.
Anyway, so in terms of the next big WWE Premium Live event, we've got Money in the Bank on the 2nd of July. We are starting to get some of the fields for Money in the Bank to emerge. For the men's, we know full certain that Seth Rollins is in it. He beat AJ Styles this week on Raw, so he's punched his ticket to Money in the Bank. He would also be facing Drew McIntyre or Sheamus, but they both disqualified themselves by hitting each other with a chair at exactly the same moment in time in SmackDown.
But quick correction. It was Thunderbird, not Warpath that Nyla wrote the comic for.
Fair enough.
Sorry. But hitting a chair at the same time?
They both went, I have a chair, you have a chair, fight, smack. And then they brawled in the crowd for like 10 minutes after. So we're having another match, I think, this week or something like that. So that's kind of it on the Money in the Bank men's field at the moment. I think we will get more as we go closer. We've still got like 3 weeks to go for that one. In terms of the women's, we've got a little bit more. Lacey Evans punched a ticket by literally punching Xia Li out on SmackDown with the women's right. I'm not wrong.
Was it a literal right hand?
Oh, yeah, it's a literal. Look, the woman's right is her right fist going into someone's face.
Because as the Big Show proved for many years, the knockout punch is a legal wrestling move.
No. The women's right at least has some force behind it and looks like it's being thrown like a proper punch. Whereas the big punch from the Big Show is just a gentle. Just a gentle. It's like watching Danny Dyer on the world's toughest people. It's
okay,
like,
no. Look, right.
No. I'm going to finish this point. When someone just gently tapped his cheek and it went, oh, my face, it really hurts. It hurts. In terms of wrestling, when Big Show just gently taps your cheek, you just collapse, and that's it.
I was going to say, the idea in some way of Big Show being compared to Danny Dyer, even I feel sorry for the Big Show. Like,
I'm a giant, but I'm Danny Dyer.
But I meant in the sense of like, the punch, the legal wrestling maneuver.
Yes.
Because it's not.
Yes. So Lacey Evans is
based on those three people at the moment, I'm leaning towards Alexa Bliss.
Did I say I haven't said Alexa and Liv have qualified yet. I hadn't gone to that bit yet. We were talking about
I jumped ahead.
You jumped the gun. You jumped the script.
Sorry.
So, yes, on Raw, tag team qualifier for some bizarre reason.
Wait, what?
So basically 2 tag teams and winning tag team, they both got added, even though they're not technically a tag team. Fair enough. Why not? They've said they're not a tag team anymore. So Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan won on Raw, so they are they're in the women's Money in the Bank. Any 3 of them would be a good choice at the moment. They've been building Lacey Evans up with the vignettes of her Marine background and her upbringing and stuff like that. So if we're paying that off, Lacey picking up the briefcase wouldn't be a bad shout, to be honest. But no, I think any of them could technically win, to be honest. I think Liv would be a people's favorite to win again. Because she was pretty much a people's favorite when the event was won last year.
That said, though, because you just mentioned Alexa now, she's been off TV for a long time. Has she only recently come back?
She came back a couple of weeks ago. She's been having matches. She still has the Lady Doll. We have no idea what her character is. She doesn't have any promos.
That means she's going to win.
Oh. I would like something.
Because then what she'll do, she'll then have like a little mini briefcase to give to the doll to look after. So then when she wants to cash it in, magically there'll be a larger briefcase when they change the camera angle. And then she'll hand it to the referee and they'll be fine. It's so bad because you know it might happen. That's the thing, isn't it?
It might. But I would like a much better gimmick or a better character direction for Alexa, please. She deserves one.
Make her into like a death metal queen icon or something. That'd be great.
Just take her back to the goddess. Let her be the goddess Alexa Bliss again. That was fun. Or Little Miss Bliss. That was fun.
But Iain, you've just said the key word. That was fun.
We don't have fun here in WWE. You think we have fun? We put smiles on people's faces. We don't have fun here.
We put in brackets, not said out loud, forced close bracket smiles on people's faces.
And if you can't see them, you can definitely hear them by our patented audience machine.
Fake crowd noise, man.
Anyway, moving on to the rest of the probable card. Definitely happening at Money in the Bank. Bianca Belair defends Raw Championship, Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley of the Judgment Day.
This should be good fun.
That should be good fun. I don't see Rhea taking the belt off straight away. I think she'll probably take it off Bianca by maybe SummerSlam. Or maybe
so what I'm hearing is her Judgment Day will not be at Money in the Bank.
No, it is the SummerSlam, the Judgment Day. The SummerSlam Judgment Day. I don't know. I think we've got Undisputed Tag Championships between Street Profits and the Usos, which will be fun.
Should be good fun.
Should be good fun. Always good with those two. I think it's probably on the cards. We are definitely going to get Ronda Rousey versus Natalya for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I mean, Natalya has a championship shot. We just don't know when it's happening. So the smart money would say Money in the Bank.
No, wait. Smart money would say that, but WWE booking would say next week on SmackDown.
Yes.
If the Roman Reigns match is anything to go by.
Well, maybe. And then I don't think it's been kind of announced, but it's kind of signs are pointing to a US title match between Lashley and Theory.
Yeah.
At least. But then SummerSlam, it will probably be Cena versus Theory.
So you could say, in theory, the match may happen on the show.
In theory, the Theory match might theoretically happen. And that's the theory of Austin Theory.
Who, sorry?
The Theory.
Oh, Theory. Right, sorry. Yeah.
The theory of Austin Theory. The Theory.
Who's Austin Theory? Sorry, I don't know that person.
Don't say that word. I get confused. I think it's Austin. Steve. No, my name's not. I'm not Austin. God, I don't want to go into directions by this. But yes. But yeah, that's where we are WWE at the moment. It's like we're getting closer to Money in the Bank. It should be a fun show.
If I may ask one more question, with regards to Judgment Day, what was the follow-up on that? Has there been like any reason given or anything like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
They just basically all appeared on a big screen when Bianca Belair was having an interview, and just kind of all stood in their nice little black suits and waistcoats
in their huddle,
like there's some what's it like they're going out for a night at the Roxbury in the 90s, something like that.
That's a reference I was not expecting today. Blimey.
I pull them out of anywhere. Just going, we're going to beat you, Bianca. Okay. And that's it. It's like, we're going to talk about Edge? Nah. Not yet. We haven't written the story yet. And also, brace yourselves, boys and girls. Elias is making an appearance on Raw next week. He's going to have a concert with his brother Ezekiel.
Wow, he's going to grow his hair back quickly, isn't he?
I don't know. I am morbidly curious to see how this is going to turn out even more.
I'm going to say now, what if like loads of people are doing at concerts at the moment, they have like a hologram next to them?
Do you think that WWE, with their powers of augmented reality, make a fake Elias to be on the stage?
If you're in the arena for that show, that's going to be awful.
Well, I mean, I bet Vince must have looked at ABBA's show in London and went, I want that. It's like, we don't have the money, Vince. Well, make something happen.
Well, Vince just went, you know what we did for The Undertaker at WrestleMania when he just walked across the stage and there was the augmented reality looking like Undertaker that looked really, 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 really bad? That.
But Elias.
Oh man! So anyway, before we wrap up, good sir, any additional thoughts to impasse? Was anything else broken since we've been on the air?
I've had a quick scamper. I think there's not much. No. Nope.
Cool. I mean, I will say as a note, I'm just on Sean Ross Sapp's Twitter because that's usually where something breaks. He did say, like, in the last hour or so, a story coming up on Fightful Select today about how plans for the AEW tag team scene changed quickly over the past 2 weeks and some talent frustration surrounding it. He then added 5 minutes ago, this story seems inconsequential after the last 20 minutes, but we're told that the AEW tag team scene and plans changed heavily over the past few weeks, and some frustration surrounding the rumored original plans, and shows a graphic of like the original 3-way ladder match. So
okay.
So something's up in the tag team division. I guess we'll find out never. Or based on Dynamite tonight.
Never mind.
But I think that's going to be all from me, actually. I can't think of anything else. We've covered a lot of ground tonight. As we mentioned, everybody, probably going to be back in on the next 2 weeks, which is the 29th of June. All going well. And as things stand, the plans will be to review Forbidden Door. We'll preview Money in the Bank and cover any other bits and bobs that we have to talk about. Depending how things are looking after Forbidden Door, or pre-Forbidden Door, whichever it is, we may have a bonus show of some kind in case there's some big news to talk about, or we feel it would just be good to do another thing. So do make sure you are subscribed on the audio platforms, the likes of Apple, Spotify, at least a Gunther podcast, but I meant Google podcast.
It's just Ludwig Kaiser saying, and now you listen to the sounds of Gunther. Say something, Gunther. That ring is sacred. Yeah.
Do you know what? There was a wonderful image on the highlights of SmackDown. I'm going to say this before we wrap up. There was a moment where, like, I think it was Ludwig Kaiser just looking at Gunther, and I really wanted to just make a meme of, like, does anyone look at you like Ludwig looks at Gunther?
There's a bit of a nice positive for the end of the show. There was a wonderful image that was shared. I think Ludwig Kaiser or Gunther shared it on their own Twitter. It is a picture of both of them several years ago, I think, on an NXT show of just Gunther and Bart and when he was Marcel Barthel just standing in the ring as they were, and they cut, and you just see the staggering weight difference and physique change. It's just insane. But you have to admire that dedication because it's like they're being presented fairly well on SmackDown right now.
I'm just going to see if I could quickly find the picture. But, no, I mean, honestly, just go on Gunther's Twitter. All it is just him looking ripped. And you're like, I'm never going to look like that. So I'm going to back away from his Twitter. I respect the man, but I can't keep looking at that.
You just don't want to get chopped in the chest. That's the thing.
Not by him, no. Are you kidding me?
Or flying drop kick? No. Do
you know what? That in that Ricochet match, when I think Ricochet did the shotgun drop kick, and then Walter did his own and just blasted Ricochet like into the sun with it almost through the ring post. Freaking great.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, everybody, do get subscribed on the audio podcast feeds, that being Apple, Google, Spotify, and such. You name it, more than likely, if you search for BunkaMania, you will find it there. And thank you very much for checking out the show. We hope you enjoyed it. Also, as mentioned, if you've been watching here live on YouTube, why not give the video a thumbs up, tell a friend, share the link if you feel so inclined. You can also hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell to be notified when we are next on the air, which, as mentioned, as things stand, will be on June the 29th. Good sir, if people want to get in contact with us, what's the best way that they can do that?
Well, they can fling us an electronic letter as we like to call it, email to BunkaMania@bunkazilla.co.uk. Please note we do not accept Gunther mail, and that is mails shouted at by Gunther. Though
emails that shot.
A Gunther Telegram service would be amazing. You just have someone knocking at the door, like, "Hello, Telegram, yes," and it's just a big hand, just slaps and destroys your chest. Just and it's like, "Gunther."
No, the way I would see that happen is slaps them. You've been served papers.
Oh, let's patent this. No.
There you go. But folks, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Here's to looking forward to Forbidden Door and such. And as mentioned, tonight on Dynamite, as we are recording and broadcasting this, going to be a packed show. I'm sure it's going to be good fun. But on that note, from myself, Jeremy Graves, from him, the Dekker Dane, Mr. Iain Boulton, we have been BunkaMania, Bunkazilla UK's official pro wrestling podcast. Until next time, take care and speak to you soon.
Adios.